It's time to talk about economic abuse, and every single small business owner, with the exception of like the 0.5%, are contributing to this. And the fractionals are contributing to this. And the coaches and the consultants are all contributing to this. Now, if you're like me, most of the coaches that you know are lucky to be making between 1,500 a month. I said lucky to be making between 1,500 a month and 6 to 7 to 8, maybe on the higher range, $10,000 a month. That's it's your own fault for one. If you're not making more money, it's our fault. We have to take responsibility for what we make. I've been having some conversations with enough people over the last several years. I'm talking a few thousand people, and they have this massive mental block on being able to even talk about finances. Oh my gosh, never bring that up. And though they don't have the money for it, they don't have the money. That's the greatest smokescreen of all time, and you believe it yourself. Yet, I was talking to one of them about it. I said, the people hate being sold. Absolutely. We don't like to be sold. We go into Sam's Club and you see those sales reps, you avoid them, or I tell them, yep, I got your service. Yep, I'm already happy with it. Thank you. Bye. We walk right by them because we don't want to be sold. But when we go into Sam's Club or we go to Walmart or we go to Target, when we have our grocery list, we always buy more than what's on the list. Okay. Almost always. We buy things that were not on the list. We love to buy. It has nothing to do with whether we have the money or not. That's just the greatest and easiest way to overcome somebody who's trying to sell you. But the reality is you start doing that to yourselves. So what happens is if you don't believe that somebody has the ability to invest in you and you lowball your price, guess what? They're gonna buy it. Go figure. And you're going to eventually be mad or feel frustrated or stressed or have anxiety because you don't have enough coming in. So the only way to escape this is if we all choose to abandon the toxicity around it. And I did. I don't work with people who have toxic mindsets regarding finances. I don't entertain the conversation. I don't want it. When somebody, whether it's a client or whether it's somebody who wants to work for me, I don't make the financial decision. I put the financial decisions for their needs and their lives in their hands. They say, how much does it cost? And I say, well, don't sink the ship. What do you mean? I don't go to LeBron James and say, hey, we kind of want you at the Spurs, but we're worried about how much it costs. You don't recruit great talent doing that. If you have people who've worked with you that accepted that as a transaction, you got a bunch of pretenders and no contenders on your team. It's true. Now let's take a look at this. So this $200 an hour, $300 an hour. Yeah, I guess there's people who work 10 hours a month for you, but they're struggling to get by with other clients. Let's go to Google. Here's how this should blow your mind, guys. We need to change this. We need to make mental adjustments to our own ability to talk about and look at finances from an open perspective. Because when Google's field sales rep, meaning an employee, is making $15,000 at minimum, $15,000 per month, that should not blow your mind. It should not blow your mind. Here's again where this comes in. I know consultants who work with clients who freak out as much as their client does. And they're like, oh my gosh, like that client, he's going to invest $20,000 in something. Like Google is paying $15,000 for one entry level sales rep. One. These are cream of the crop. I get it. But my point is, if they're investing that in one sales rep, why? Why are you not investing in your businesses? That $15,000 doesn't include the benefits and the infrastructure to protect themselves from the liabilities that also come with the territory and the amount of time that they invest in the training materials and the R&D for the training materials and the manager that's also working with them as well. $15,000 minimum for an employee. So if you're having a hard time wrapping your brain around this, like it's time to grow up in the business game. It's time to look at this from the reality that business costs money to build, and doing the solopreneur route and then, and pretending, oh, I'm going to go in and I'm going to be this person's fractional COO, but I'm not going to act like a chief. I'm going to act like a child. I'm not going to go further with that analogy. I'm going to act like I don't know. I'm just going to say yes to things, and I'm going to make sure to protect them. And I'm going to operate from a position of feeling kind of scared and feeling kind of out of my league with with true financial. Do you realize, again, business owners, it's your fault too. You've got to be willing to work with chiefs, and the chief, right? They're going to be the ones who tell you what to do. They're going to be the ones who you're supposed to turn control of the territory, of the department, of that operation over and allow them to make decisions as human beings, as adults, as the expert. If you're hiring somebody and just giving them a title because it sounds good, well, guess what? When you start complaining about the results, we don't feel bad for you when you don't get results. And when you bring in a chief and the chief comes in and tells all your team what to do and starts orchestrating and moving things, the other people are saying, hey, that person's not very nice. That person's telling us what to do. Like, we don't really like this person. Of course they don't. They're all riding your payroll, making minimum. They don't want the status quo adjusted. They don't want their job to be at stake. They don't want somebody measuring and tracking how effective they actually aren't at their jobs. You got to hire chiefs if you're going to win in the game of business. You got to bring people in who will make moves. You got to bring people in who will say, you got a pipe dream here. You don't have a vision. You're not investing in your vision. Then no, you have a pipe dream and you're scared to take risks. What? That's one of the riskiest moves you can make in life. Well, I don't want to drown the seed, so I'm just not going to water it. I don't want the seed to break. It has to sprout. It has to break. That's part of the process. I don't want to stick it in the dirt. That sucks. I'm going to get dirty. The seed's going to get dirty. Yeah, that's all part of it. You have to kind of drown it. You have to let it break. You have to stick it in the dark hole. Only then can it eventually have roots and start to grow. But you got to then take care of it over. You got to keep throwing water on it, throwing money at it. This is a hard subject because I'm very passionate, and people see it as like condescension, or they see it as, some people in general, like, right? you call people out and it's like, oh, and he's a jerk. Well, that's fine. Label me a jerk. I'm trying to help you win. Trying to help you realize that you got to step up, invest in your brand. You got to hire the right types of people, the people who are going to help you win. When I say you've got to do that, it's your choice though. I'm not here to tell you what to do. That's the other challenge. It's different. I'm not telling anybody. I'm talking in general right now. You also got to find somebody that has, cojones like that has that willpower, who's going to be a chief, but that's also not a tyrant who's going to control you, who's going to tell you directly what to do. It's one thing for me to say, catch the concept in general and follow this reality. But you also have to have a chief that's by your side that's going to respect your vision and help you. There's a give and take on that. And there's certain types of verbiage that I recommend avoiding. I recommend considering, is this person the type of person, are they controlling me? Are they telling me what to do? Are they the ones that saying you have to do this? Or are they the ones that are saying like, hey, if you want to understand, that's an if condition. If you want to win, then you have to consider investing properly in your business. And while that's a general statement, like, that doesn't mean go invest all your money. You still have to be careful. But I don't see too many fractionals making a great impact on the businesses they work with, because they usually took that fractional position because, one, they don't want to work full time. They don't usually have the legacy of, I'm going to build a fractional empire. That person's usually onto something or tyrannical, one of the two. I see a lot of people taking these freelance roles and part-time gigs because they're scared of asking for the full pay because they know they won't get the job. And so they take what they can. And the person who would love to have more out of them and will kind of pressure them into doing the things like, will you please, like, I really need this right now. But they're never willing to reciprocate. And like, well, we'll figure that out later. They never do. If they do that, if they say we're going to figure it out, it's one thing if they put you on a bonus structure that is known within the company and the other team members know and everybody supports it, like, that's different. If you take some sacrifices in that type of safe environment. But if you do it, with behind the scenes and it's never spoken about and it's never documented and they don't want to talk about it, no, you're in a toxic relationship. They're going to take advantage of you, and you made that happen. by not learning how to communicate and having healthy dialogues. That's where it starts. Economic abuse is not something that as an adult you have to suffer. It is something that you can address. And it starts with learning how to talk about money. It starts with realizing that, wow, if the entry level sales rep makes $15,000 per month at Google and I'm advising my clients not to spend money and not to bring on other team members, you need to check yourself. You're hurting that business. And if you're making less than that monthly, if you have 10 clients paying you $5,000 and you're making $50,000 a month because of it, and they all respect your time and you've got great healthy relationships, that's different. Supply and demand, though, keep raising, keep going according to your needs. It just makes me really sad that there's 96% of businesses failing within 10 years. And people want to ignore it and pretend that's not like a real thing, but it's been a real thing for more than 50 years, possibly more than 100 years. And the 4% who make it to that 10-year mark are surviving. They're also in debt. They're also struggling. They're barely making it. COVID didn't help. I think I have a bad feeling that the statistics got even worse somehow. How do you get worse from 99%? Like that's scary. And then out of those, the repeats, right? Who's in the economic abundance mindset where they're repeating success over and over? And I'm not going to point to anybody I know personally. I'm going to look at the billionaire territory and say, okay, Richard Branson seems to have a repeatable formula going on pretty well. That's different than everybody else. Why would I listen to anybody who's not that? Right? Oh, okay. Mark Cuban, he's got a repeatable formula going. Mark Zuckerberg, maybe there's something. Maybe I should name my next son Mark. Oh, geez. There are more out there, of course. There are lots of companies that do have umbrellas, but it doesn't. You're not a winner just because you have an umbrella. Just because you want to convince people. Like Grant Cardone, I'll pick on him. He's got an umbrella of things. He also lies with most of what he does. And you guys eat it. You justify. You eat it. Oh, that's just marketing. No, it's not just. That's just lying. When you say you're going to share that tax secret in just a couple minutes, and then 3 hours later he hasn't mentioned one thing about a tax, that's not okay. That's a manipulation. When he closes that guy on the phone and hard pressures him into wanting to, yeah, you got this. You're gonna move this forward. And the whole crowd cheers once he hangs up because they're like, man, he got him. He nailed that. No, he didn't. That guy knew exactly what was happening. He didn't know that he was on the phone. He knew what Grant was doing, though. And yeah, Grant, sounds good, Grant. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll do that, Grant. Sounds good, Grant. You know how many times we as homeowners do that to the home security reps who come knock on our door? Hey, you want a security system? Oh, yeah, definitely. My wife will be back on, let me think. It's Thursday. Okay. Friday night at 6 p.m. She'll be here for sure. And you told him that. Why? Because nobody's going to be home at that time. You're not threatened. You know exactly what company he works for. It's like, whatever. You just want to get him out of your hair. Why? Because he's pressuring you. Because you don't want to work with him. But you're not going to say that because he's just going to keep thinking, oh, man, I'm just going to show off. I got to show how convincing I am, man. Yeah, if I just have more pressure here. Yeah, if I just, no, do you really want to change your life? Or do you want to get stuck with the rest of the people around you? It's okay. It's your choice, man. All these stupid tactics, these pressure tactics that people use. If you're following somebody like that, the person who's manipulating people out in the open in the public, they have a private company. If they have a private company, you have no idea how well they're doing. But even if he pulls his bank account out, you know what I would say? Well, I'm sorry, but at the same time, maybe he is doing super well. But I do know there's two sources of material wealth. One of them is God and one of them is Satan. I get it. People don't want to talk about, even the Christians in the world right now, they don't want to talk about Satan. They don't want to talk, he who must not be named is like how they treat it. It's like, what the heck? Do you not remember the story of Moses and how Moses was able to do all these miracles, but Pharaoh's priests were able to do almost identical miracles every time? They had a power too. Now again, I am not calling Grant Cardone evil. He is my brother in this life and in the next. He's a son of God. And any son of God, including myself, that decides to manipulate others for gain is not acting according to God's will. I should never do it. Other people should never do it. And yet in the business world, again, it's justified as just marketing. That's just sales, man. That's just how it's done. It's fine. You guys can continue to create businesses that fail over time. If you want to continue to do that, you can continue to burn through your experiences, burn through your relationships. This is close to home for me because I was also once abusive economically. I was hiring super, super cheap people, cheap labor on Fiverr and Upwork and not caring at all for who they were. I treated it like a transaction, like I was buying shoes at Payless or a Great Value brand at Walmart for water bottles and in and out. I didn't care what would happen. It didn't take me very long though to realize, wow, these results kind of suck. It wasn't the people though. I had to go back and look. I was like, man, they got great reviews. What's going on? What's wrong here? It was how abusive I was to the relationship. I treated a human being like a transaction. I didn't ask them, anything about their life. I didn't take any interest in who they were as people. I didn't take any interest in what their needs were, what they were going through. What if I'd hired somebody and paid them $5, but they needed 20 just to survive for the week? And I never bothered to ask. Yeah, you can certainly justify it and say, "Oh, well, that's not your responsibility. They should have let you know. It's their fault at the end of the day. Their decision's their fault. My decision's my fault. How I behave when I engage in a relationship with somebody will always be my fault, no matter what anybody else does to me. I am 100% control of my behaviors. I am not a slave to anybody else. And when you choose to give your liberty over to somebody as a free individual and say, oh, it's their fault, not mine, you're only becoming a slave to that individual. You have responsibilities as an adult, as a human being. We have responsibilities if we want to overcome economic abuse as a society, as a global market, neighborhood, as the few people who listen to this. You have the opportunity to start debating this, dialoguing about this, teaching this concept. What if everybody who heard this told 10 people, and all 10 people told 10 people about this concept of economic abuse and started debating the realities of, wait a second, should we be taking pay less than an entry-level sales rep as business owners ourselves? You consider yourselves solopreneurs, right? Wantrepreneurs is what you're called by most of the entrepreneurial world. And that's okay. You're on your way. I remember my solopreneur days, 100%. I was a wantrepreneur. I didn't even want to use the word entrepreneur yet. I didn't feel like I had earned it. It's changing now. Nowadays, the dialect has changed. But back, 20 years ago when I was starting out, 15 years ago, when I was starting into all this stuff and I met the first serial entrepreneur, his name was Brandon Wagner. And somebody said he's a serial entrepreneur. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you get that title? That's cool. And he owned a number of different businesses. And I was like, okay, cool. When I saw my stepdad's keys, and he's got like 40 keys on his key ring, and then he's got, a box of keys, like a safe of keys for all the different establishments and things that he owns too. He's not a multimillionaire. He never made it to millionaire status, but he has a lot of responsibilities and a lot of assets. It's like, man, that's amazing. It's a lot of authority. It's a lot to preside over. That's a lot of responsibility. It's inspiring. I see too many visionaries that tie themselves too closely to their first supporting associates who have very, very small visions and dreams. That's why they're supporting your vision that's not done yet and not even constructed. So they're there hoping that you figure it out. But if you're going to them for advice, The only thing they know how to do is stay in the safe zone. That's why they're underneath your vision. That's why they're willing to follow everything that you say and do. They're like, you do it. I don't want to. I'm nervous. I'm scared. So when you go ask them, hey, should I do this or not? They don't know. They're not qualified. They have no ability to understand how to win at bigger levels. Stop putting your decisions on their shoulders. Stop putting your decisions on the shoulders of those who make offers to you, including me. I'm not here to make decisions for you. I am not your mom. I am not your dad. And your mom and your dad are not your decision makers anymore either. You're out in the real world now. Go find mentors who can help you understand how to ask great economic questions, who can help you have healthy dialogues about the economy, about finances. I'm really curious, what your opinions are, what questions you have, what you're willing to do. Am I wrong on this? I mean, is it wrong? Are 99% of business owners winning and all the statistics are just wrong? Do I have to be a multimillionaire before I can have an opinion on the matter? Where I can point out a trend? I don't know. The boy who harnessed the wind, did he have to already have created electricity to master the principles of electricity and create that windmill that he did? No, he didn't. Does the Christian have to be perfect and completely saintly with zero sins before they can start telling people to follow Christ? Well, we shouldn't be telling people to. We should be inviting people. But can I do that as a sinner? Somebody who also has all sorts of shitty problems in life? That's willing to say things, oh my gosh, that other people of faith aren't. Like, he sinned. He can't possibly be. Sure. You can feel how you want about it. I'm not a math teacher, but I can teach my kids that 2 + 2 = 4 with confidence. I can probably do it with examples that are better than 99% of math teachers I've ever met. But I should probably also maintain my humility of I can always learn from better math teachers out there for the sake of guiding my children, for the sake of guiding myself. I should always keep my eyes and ears open for who's giving value and who's doing so with love as their core principle of guidance. That matters tremendously to me. Doesn't mean I won't learn the formula sometimes from the person who's leading without love. But it does mean that my source of strength, most of the time, my source of answer, wisdom, path forward, will come through a still small voice, will come from somebody who invites me to think, who invites me to feel, someone who respects that I am the visionary of my life and that it's my choice to make my own decisions. My hope and invitation to you, I invite you to share, not with my video, to share this exact concept with the people around you who you know love you and are able to have difficult conversations without getting offended and without getting contentious. Contention does not help in any scenario. It does not come from God. When it's stressful and people are anxious and they get mad or they get, I don't want to hear about this, or they shut you down rather than open the dialogue. See, there's no fear whatsoever in healthy dialogue. None, not when there's love presence. So if you're feeling fear or you're feeling anxious or you're feeling like annoyed, that has nothing to do with wholesome subjects. That has to do with something that's either going on with you or going on with friends and family members who may have gaslit you. Now you're more likely to call anybody a gaslighter that's trying to help you see a new paradigm. If you and I, let's not worry about the country. If you and I start moving away from economic abuse into economic abundance, and by example, we start helping others do the same by example and open dialogue about it. We have no idea how far that ripple effect can go, but the stronger we commit ourselves to economic abundance, the more likely that we'll be able to achieve it and help others achieve it. And I think a lot of great things would come for all those who participate in that. I think a lot of lives would be blessed.